Hi everyone. So I haven't done a video in a while, but I thought I would do a tier list video, or I might do a number of tier list videos actually, because I really think it would be good and enjoyable content. So today we're going to do the Wheel of Time book series. So yeah, crazy to think about that, but I have read 14 of the 15 Wheel of Time books. I haven't read New Spring, so we'll leave New Spring out. But anyway, we will start with The Eye of the World, which is the first book in the Wheel of Time series. Yeah, The Eye of the World is very, very similar to The Lord of the Rings in certain beats, but overall, it is a really enjoyable book. We won't talk about the ending, as the ending has some very weird things that happen in it. But for The Eye of the World, I'm going to go B, I think. I'll go B just because it is very like the Lord of the Rings, and it is setting up a lot of things actually for a 14 book, well, 15 book main series. So I'll go B. It wasn't anything that would blow you away. It was definitely a very enjoyable book and made you want to read the next one, which was obviously the main goal of the series. Yeah, and then the next one was The Great Hunt. Oh, I love this book. You get introduced to a lot of things. Our main characters kind of they haven't split off yet. They're all still kind of together in this one too. And you kind of have your main character, Rand, is discovering a lot more about himself. And this is a spoiler-free video, so I'm trying not to talk about spoilers. But basically, you know what I mean. There's a lot more happens. We get introduced to more villains of the series because there's kind of a group of villains, and we'll get introduced to a character called Lanfear, this girl, and it's very, very good. So I'm actually gonna go A with The Great Hunt, as it was more enjoyable to me than The Eye of the World. And then the third book was The Dragon Reborn, and this book was outstanding. Like this was I got addicted to this series. I read it earlier in the year, and I could just feel myself getting addicted to the series. And I read this one, and I thought, oh, I just want to read the next one right now. And yeah, I'm gonna have to go A tier with this one again. Just Eye of the World, great starting point, great hunt, bit of a bounce up to better book again, and then the Dragon Reborn just kind of continues that. And then we get on to the Shadow Rising, which was the fourth book in the series, and this is kind of where our characters all separate out and go on their own journeys. They do separate a bit out in the first three, but they don't kind of. A lot of the characters separate out in this book, and then you don't see them again together for a long time. And I don't want to spoil that, so I'm not going to say when they all come together. Basically, every character then goes on their own arc and develops as a character. So, um, kind of you're kind of if your first arc is kind of the Eye of the World of the Dragon Reborn, and then you go to the Shadow Rising, and it's kind of the start of another arc, but or in the middle of this one massive arc. Um, yeah, I think I'll go B with this one, as there was definitely a jump in page number. This book went The first three books were kind of in the 600 to 700 page range, and then the Shadow Rising jumped up to 1,000 pages, which is obviously you're reading high fantasy, so that's kind of what you expect. But 1,000 pages is a lot, and I did feel like this was again a bit of a setup book to kind of get things going into the story. And then book five was The Fires of Heaven. This one was the page number definitely dropped down again. I think they're around 600, which I thought was better, as the pace of the book was definitely a lot better in this series. And yeah, just outstanding writing, especially the ending as well. It's just like um, Rand is the main character. And yeah, just mental book. It's just truly outstanding. So I'm gonna go with A. Um, and then you're into book six, which is just some very dark things happen in this book. Like really dark. Like the series goes. This is kind of a step. This isn't like grimdark or anything, but it certainly could be. It's this kind of Robert Jordan kind of hinted a lot of what could have been, and yeah, the Lord of Chaos for me is S tier. Outstanding, outstanding book. Um, yeah, just truly, truly outstanding book. And then, so we're 6 books in now to this 15 book series, and now you kind of enter into something that is called a slog to many fantasy readers, or before fantasy readers even consider picking up this series. You then have what people call the slog, which I don't agree with that it was a slog. I still overly enjoyed it. That would have been A Crown of Swords, Path of Daggers. Um, and then there's like two more up to book 10 was kind of considered a slog. With The Crown of Swords, you kind of focus a lot on Matt, who is a character who starts off kind of very annoying, and a lot of people don't like him. And then he has this massive character arc throughout the whole series, up to the point where Brandon Sanderson is no longer is then the writer of the story for book 12, 13, and 14. But up until that point, he basically went from hating him to everybody kind of loving him. So A Crown of Swords is kind of Matt's book, in my opinion, and I think I'll just go with B tier for that one. And then the next book would be The Path of Daggers. Yeah, instantly going C tier because while I don't believe this was a slog to get through, there's definitely a dip in the quality of the series overall. In my opinion, everything slows down, and there isn't really huge, massive event. There's a couple of massive events, but it just feels like you're waiting to get to the final battle as it's talked about in the whole series. After A Path of Daggers, then you have Winter's Heart, which I am gonna put into C as well, just because I don't think it was great either. Um, Still enjoyable read, but just not up to the same standard of these first three books. And then these, the Great Eye of the World, Great Hunt, Dragon Reborn, Shadow Rising, Fires of Heaven, Lord of Chaos. Like those first 6 books are some of the best fantasy books I've ever read, in my opinion. And then you go into Crown of Swords, and it's good because it focuses on Matt and kind of his character arc a lot. But then you have these 2 books, and all these different characters get introduced, and they don't really have extreme importance in the series. A lot of them come into this part of the series and then they go out of it again before the end. They're in the end, but they only have maybe a couple of words about them in certain books, and they're just forgotten about. So you wonder what the importance was. After Winter's Heart, then you have Crossroads of Twilight, which I'm gonna put up to B because it's kind of the end of this slog that people talk about that I don't agree with, but it definitely, to me, improved things. Um, yeah, they definitely improved. So I'll go with B. It was better than these two, in my opinion. I did like it. It was a good book, so I'll go with B. And then you have Knife of Dreams, which is B again. A step up from these books. Things are starting to ramp up. You can kind of foreshadow things are being foreshadowed of what's to come, and certain characters, you know, have gone through an arc, have gone through development, and then they're coming back out of, let's say, the darkness of what had become of them. Um, and because you're on book 11 of a 15 book series, you're getting excited because it's not that you want the series to end, but it's just you're happy about where things are going and you're really excited. And then you have The Gathering Storm, which is back up to no, not S, not S. My God, not S. Definitely not S. But uh, it's the last. It's the last. Well, I think no, book 11. I think was the last one, and then this is the first one by Jordan. Um, yeah, things are going up a level now, and you're just so excited to keep reading. I read these books back to back to back. I was enjoying them so much. The Towers of Midnight then has a returning character. It's A as well. It's truly outstanding. It has a returning character, and you're so excited. And then you're booked 13 to 14. Things are ramping up now, and then you get on to 14, and it's S tier. Like I can't argue with that. Hear my dog yawning in the back. That is like the Memory of Light was just outstanding, and you know what I mean. It was the final book in the 14, before obviously excluding the prequel, and you just couldn't. You were just reading it, and you were loving it so much. So yeah, hope you enjoyed this video. If you want more more tier videos, hit the button.